Good evening and good morning to our two esteemed guests, Your Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta, President of the Republic of Kenya, and Sundar Pichai, CEO of Google and Alphabet. To the Honorable Kenyan Cabinet Secretary for ICT, Joe Musheru, and the Honorable Ambassador of Kenya to the United States, Ambassador Lazarus Amayo, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, welcome. As this is CCA's first event of the year, I wish you all a happy and healthy new year. I'm Florie Lazier, President and CEO of Corporate Council on Africa, CCA, the leading US business association focused solely on connecting business interests in Africa. I want to thank each of you for joining us today for CCA's first high-level dialogue of 2021. Today's high-level dialogue will take the form of a fireside chat between His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta, President of the Republic of Kenya, and Mr. Sundar Pichai, CEO of Google and Alphabet, to focus on the important topic of digital transformation in Africa and its role in driving economic growth in Kenya and across the continent. I am delighted that these two leaders have accepted CCA's invitation to host them today and allow us once again to serve as a bridge between the US private sector and Africa, and today between Silicon Valley and Savannah Valley. I am also grateful to my dear friend and sister Zane Verjee, founder and CEO of Zane Verjee Group, for accepting to moderate this fireside chat. Zane is an exceptional storyteller, a creative entrepreneur, and an unparalleled communicator. We are delighted you can moderate this conversation, Zane. If COVID-19 has taught us anything, it is that we are better off working together and collaborating in terms of our partnership during this critical post-pandemic economic recovery period, both here in the United States and in Africa. This CCA high-level dialogue builds on our ICT initiative and provides a unique opportunity to hear from President Kenyatta and Sundar Pichai as they discuss ways in which digital technology and partnerships can unlock new avenues for economic growth in Kenya specifically and Africa as a whole. So without further ado, I would like to turn it over to Zane.
Thank you so much, Florie. Hi there, everyone. It's such a pleasure to be here today. It's actually extra special for me because after 1 year in Los Angeles, I finally made it back home to my beloved Nairobi. I didn't actually realize how happy I would be sitting for hours in Nairobi traffic again, or how much I would appreciate ugali, sukuma wiki, githeri, mandazi, are local foods that I have missed very much. So I'd like to say a heartfelt karibuni welcome to His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta, the President of Kenya, and Sundar Pichai, the CEO of Google and Alphabet. It's wonderful to have you both here with us today. Mheshimiwa Rais, it is so good to see you after so long. You look exactly the same, actually. How do you do it? And Mr. Pichai, it's great to meet you as well virtually. And I sincerely hope that one day soon we can invite you here in Kenya in person, where we can host you to see the grand migration of the wildebeest in Masai Mara. It would be our pleasure. Okay, gentlemen, let me set the scene a little bit here for our discussion. We have seen a significant increase in internet penetration around the world, especially in Africa. There is data to support that the number of internet users in Kenya alone increased by 3.2 million. That's 16% between 2019 and 2020. A recent study commissioned by Google concluded that this growth in internet penetration has not translated into faster economic growth. The report is called Digital Sprinters, which anyone can read online. It focuses on 16 countries, including Kenya. President Kenyatta, Kenya has a thriving startup ecosystem, as we know. On the World Bank Ease of Doing Business rankings, Kenya is ranked 56 out of 190 economies and was actually one of the most improved in Africa. So hongera, congratulations. What are some of the supportive policies Kenya has put in place to make sure that we continue growth in this space?
Well, thank you very much, Zain. And once again, happy to see you after a while. Let me begin by saying that over the last 20 or so years, Kenya has made substantial growth in terms of our connectivity, as you've just mentioned. And we are continuing to invest in deepening that scope. And we have begun to see some of the benefits of that penetration. Zain, you will recall that less than 20 years ago, to transfer money, you had to queue up in banks. Only 30% of our population had a bank account. Today, as we speak, as a result of digitization, as a result of technology, as a result of internet penetration, almost 95% of all Kenyans have access to financial services. This has been an incredible boost to growth in our country. We have also seen, as you have also said, the expansion in terms of access to information. Access to information previously was just a radio or a TV if you were lucky. Today, news travels faster than a speeding bullet, regardless of what part of the country you're in. Again, thanks to this particular process. We have seen a lot of startups come up in our country. A lot of startup companies, a lot of young people engaged. In fact, Sundar was mentioning before the partnership that he has with one of the Kenyan companies that is using technology to deepen and speed up retail interaction in our country. And this is just one of many that have taken place, you know, with M-Kopa, with all the various instruments and tools that we have now to pay for your electricity bills, to pay for government services, and so on and so forth. But we have not yet fully seen the impact of technology in terms of driving, per se, economic growth. We have seen its impact in terms of facilitation, in terms of being able to make it easier to register companies, in terms of making it easier to pay your taxes. These are some of the facilitative aspects that, as you've said, Zain, have resulted in Kenya being able to leapfrog in terms of our reform processes that have made it easier for companies to do business, for business, the ease of doing business. And I want to assure you that as we continue digitizing our judiciary, as we continue digitizing our Attorney General's chambers, our lands departments, and all these other different government services, we will see even that 56 position drop even further, because this is the commitment that we have. But now we need to start working together to see how we can translate that into growth, into economic opportunity for our people. And as we were saying earlier before we started this fireside chat, one of the key areas I was thanking Sundar for is working together, for example, now with Google, to see how through the use of technology, through the use of new innovations, how can we start linking our small and medium-sized enterprises that are the backbone of our economy and linking them up to global markets. This is really where the future lies. This is really where the partnership lies. And this is the focus that we want to work together, partnering with American companies partnering with Kenyan SMEs. This is where the true growth potential exists, so that the facilitative work that we have done is actually now leapfrogged upon by the opportunities created by the linkages that we can establish through the work, for example, that the Corporate Council is now currently doing.
So speaking of working together, let me ask Mr. Pichai, what is Google doing specifically to support businesses like that and people during these really challenging times?
First of all, let me thank Mr. President, President Kenyatta, for the opportunity to do this today, and also thank the Corporate Council on Africa for organizing. And Zain, thanks for your help as well. As you said, society has made huge strides on connectivity, and this is a trend around the world, but it's exciting to see it beginning to play out in Africa as well. And we have seen around the world again that COVID has really accelerated digital trends by years. And online, digital has been a lifeline for many businesses around the world, and we see that in Africa as well. So as economies reopen from a tough 2020, from recovering from the pandemic, we see opportunity to support government efforts to help businesses, people who are seeking jobs, and communities recover. A few examples. Last September, we announced $1 million grant to help Kenyan women who have lost income due to COVID, and helping them, helping support their recovery. We announced a digital hub to help 300,000 Kenyan SMEs get online. We are working to help students learn remotely and train them on digital skills as well. And today I'm excited to announce a $10 million US, 1.1 billion Kenyan shillings for economic recovery. And it's comprised of three things. $2 million to local nonprofits, which are serving underserved communities in Kenya. $3 million in SME. President Kenyatta spoke in our conversation earlier about how foundational SMEs are to help drive the recovery. And so we are really focused on that. And I've always felt Kenya has been very entrepreneurial and willing to drive technology innovation. We've seen it in payments. And so $5 million to support technology startups and help them grow and develop as well. Just the beginning, and look forward to announcing more in the coming few months as well.
Thank you so much. That's very generous of you and of Google, and we appreciate it very much. Thank you. I was looking at some numbers on population and age at the World Bank, and according to them, Kenya's population is growing at a rate of 1 million per year. This puts Kenya at about 85 million people by 2050. Now, that same year, the United Nations projects that a quarter of the world's population will be African, and Africa will also have the youngest population in the world. So, President Kenyatta, what is it that the Kenyan government is doing to support the growing young population and equip them with the skills to access digital opportunities like you and Sundar were talking about today? And also specifically, can you address what you're doing to ensure women have access to all the digital tools they need?
Thank you once again, Zain. And let me begin by saying that without a doubt, not maybe 2080, but as we stand today, 70+% of our population in Kenya is composed of people under the age of 30. What does this therefore mean? It means that the problem isn't in the future, the problem is today. And what we have to do is to begin to arm our young people with the necessary skills that they need to be able to take up new opportunities of an ever-changing world. And that is why, for example, we have kicked off a process in Kenya of changing education curriculum to a competency-based curriculum that actually is geared towards enabling our children at a very early age to begin to develop competencies that are fit for the world that we are living today and that we project to be living into the future. And part of that is equipping them with the skills to be able to adapt to technology at a very early age, to be able to use technology at a very early age, is to focus on STEM as being central to giving our young people those tools that they need. We are also trying to see, as we continue to connect our country, how we can make sure that we have connectivity across the country, developing innovation hubs, so that the iHubs that we see in Nairobi, the iLabs that we see in Nairobi, are also available to our young people in Mandera, in Kisumu, in Mombasa, in Kiambu, everywhere, because we have been able to give them access to that connectivity. We're trying to work to see how we can create an enabling environment for them to be able to access digital work. Through our Ajira program, for example, that is youth-orientated, we are trying to see how, and we now have almost 700,000 young people who have been trained through our Ajira program, working on online jobs, and not just jobs available in Kenya, but jobs available all over and across the globe. This is, again, a key focus is opening new areas. We're trying to digitize our courts. As we digitize our courts, we're trying to now go through and ensure that all the recordings, for example, that are done, the transcription, this work is made available to our young people. So not only does it make our judiciary that much more efficient in terms of their records, but also creates opportunities for our young people. We're focusing ourselves also in trying to work with some of our international partners to establish chip manufacturing in our country so that we can now also move to that level where we will be talking to Google and saying, how about the next Google phone being made in Nairobi, in Nyeri, or in Kisumu? These, again, is creating new opportunities in new fields. And this is really the key focus that we have. Equip our people with the skills and competencies that they require, link up with international partners to create opportunities that would then be available to these young people, and then fully take advantage and be able to transit from what one might call an agricultural-based economy that is more subsistence or internal, to one where the whole globe is an open market. And that's part and parcel of our process and program with what we're trying to do with the Africa Free Trade Arrangement, with what we're trying to do with the US government in terms of establishing the free trade agreement between Kenya and the US, as well as various other agreements that we're doing across the world, giving and making the globe the market for our young people. And this really is the focus, while equipping our young people with the skills to be able to take advantage of those opportunities.
And as you say, Mheshimiwa Rais, our youthful population has to be our demographic dividend. The continent has a mean age, I believe, of about 19 years old. Sundar, given that context, what do you see as the biggest opportunities for growth in the digital economy in Kenya?
Well, I think it's an opportunity for bold action. And I think it's important to make sure the growth is sustainable and inclusive. The Digital Sprinters report, which you mentioned, gives a framework. I think the three things I would say are, it has to start with physical capital for connectivity and infrastructure. In Africa, now 25% have access to broadband, but the cost of data is still high. One of the projects we are doing is a major subsea cable from all the way from Portugal to South Africa along the west coast of Africa to provide some of that infrastructure. But I think connectivity and cheaper data is going to be important. Investing in people, particularly youth, with digital skills. Programs like TVET, the Technical and Vocational Education and Training, integrating digital education in that and being able to collaborate with the government to do that, I think it's important. I would say, spurring the next generation technologies like cloud computing and AI, even though that is in the future, laying the foundation in Kenya is going to be important. And finally, I would add that investing in a regulatory ecosystem that has important regulation, but also promotes healthy competition with predictable tax frameworks based on international standards. And so the African Continent Free Trade Agreement, which President Kenyatta has been rightly championing, I think is an important framework. And the USMCA, which we recently completed in the US, is a model, and things like that can lay the groundwork.
And Sundar, if I may just get you also to speak to investing in women in Africa.
In every place where we have invested in, we have realized, that is the key lever to drive overall productivity of the economy. So a lot of our digital skilling effort is focused on women as well, and you're not going to succeed unless you direct and focus your efforts to promote gender equality. And I think that's really important for Kenya as well. So through all the programs which I mentioned, we'll bring that lens and make sure we are investing with that viewpoint.
And Your Excellency, what are some of your thoughts on how we can strengthen public-private partnerships, develop the kind of digital infrastructure that you're both talking about as what's needed, and really attract investment into the digital economy of Kenya and Africa at large?
Well, the first thing is to make sure that you have an enabling and attractive environment for business. And that's what you were referring to earlier, Zain, when we were talking about the work that we're doing to improve the ease of doing business in our country, to make government services much more readily and easily available, to make decision-making much faster, to remove bureaucracy and red tape that hinders private sector growth, but that also encourages poor governance. So we need to be able to deal with these governance situations, even as we improve on connectivity and efficiency. We also need to be able to remove some of these obstacles, which then make it attractive for private sector to be able to project themselves and to be able to feel secure enough to start seeing Africa as that new frontier, which it really is. I think the second thing which we're also really working on is to also ensure that there is political certainty, because political certainty and political risk is another issue that the African continent really has to deal with. And we ourselves in Kenya are really trying to focus ourselves on having political predictability so that you do not only have the necessary reforms to make your destination attractive, but also the political predictability that private sector needs to be able to have long-term investment, because that is what Africa really lacks. The environment for long-term investment. And what we are also encouraging for that foreign investment to partner with local investment. And once again, and I'm sorry to keep saying it, especially the SME, which are the foundation of our economy. Zain, as you well know, in excess of 70%, at least of Kenya's economy, is the informal sector. We need to begin to formalize this. We need to be able to create more opportunities for this, because that is where the jobs are going to be created. And it's those kind of partnerships, plus the work that I'm talking about, plus the reform agenda that we need to do, where we can actively say that we are an attractive, stable, and future base for foreign investment.
Let's dig a little bit deeper into that, Mheshimiwa Rais, and let me invite Sundar to talk a little bit about the transforming jobs. It's happening at a faster rate than ever before. So give us a sense of your outlook for Africa and Kenya as it relates to the digital skills gap and how Google is partnering with the public sector in Africa to build the workforce and entrepreneurship. And I think we can repeat it as much as we have to, Mheshimiwa Rais, with the SMEs that are really the core drivers of our economy. Sundar, perhaps you could speak a little to that and give us a little more depth and color around how you see it.
Africa is young. We all mentioned that, particularly Kenya. And the future of internet is going to be driven by them. They learn to use the internet on mobile. They can access localized content. Investing in people and closing digital skills gap is foundational. In 2016, we made a pledge to train 1 million young people, and we've exceeded that in less than a year. And across Africa, in 2017, I was in Nigeria. We announced a digital skills program to train 10 million people in 5 years. And we have nearly trained 6 million so far, many in Kenya. And you mentioned the focus on women. Nearly half of the people we have trained are women, and we see strong demand there. So continuing to invest in youth, digital skills training. I spoke about the TVET program earlier as well. And I think the only way we can succeed is by, like the leadership President Kenyatta is showing, companies working in closer collaboration with government is how we make progress across all these areas.
I have one final question, same question for the both of you. Mheshimiwa Rais, I'll start with you. What excites you the most about the next chapter of technological innovation?
What excites me the most, I believe, is we have achieved what I was calling earlier the ability to vastly improve access to information. Zain, as you well know now, I mean, at a click of a button, you know what's going on in any part of the country, the globe. So access to information we have. But I think the next real exciting challenge is how we are going to convert that connectivity and the networking that we have done and make it a basis for creating gainful employment for our young people. To me, that is that next generation. That is the AI, artificial intelligence, that Sundar is talking about, the opportunities of creating opportunities for our SMEs globally. That ability to engage and create hope and opportunity for our young people that they can earn through this investment, I believe, is what is the greatest and most exciting next steps in our journey going forward.
And Sundar, what about you? Final word, what excites you the most about the next chapter of tech?
For me, I think, we're seeing it begin to happen in other markets where, innovations from places like India, Indonesia are now being used outside. And I see that same journey in Africa. Kenya has such an entrepreneurial spirit. I've seen that with M-Pesa, digital payments. Across Africa, there are exciting new things happening. Mr. President mentioned artificial intelligence. We opened our first AI research center in Accra in Ghana. And so I can dream of that future in which there are innovations happening in Africa, which will be consumed by the rest of the world. And to do that, I think we have to do a lot more. As a company, we are committed. And let me wrap up by both thanking Mr. President for his time and the chance to have the conversation, and to Flory and Zain for facilitating. Honored to be with you both today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Asante sana, Sundar. Asante sana, Your Excellency. We really enjoyed that discussion and appreciated your time very, very much. And Mheshimiwa Rais, Sundar has promised to come to Kenya very soon for a holiday with his family. I mean, he's been to Nigeria and Ghana, so he's on the hook now, Mheshimiwa Rais.
Me and you both will take him on his first game drive.
Sawa sawa. Done, Sundar. Thank you so much. Please look after yourselves, stay healthy and well, and let me invite Flori to say a few closing words. Thank you.
Well, first, I just want to say that if there's going to be anyone participating in that, CCA certainly wants to be a part of that. So you all have to keep us in the loop and make sure that we can join you as well. Thank you, Zane, for moderating such an excellent conversation. I was taking notes and there was so much to say. Just a special thank you, though, to our distinguished speakers, His Excellency President Kenyatta and Sundar Pichai, CEO of Google and Alphabet. You know, it was so insightful to hear about the steps that are being taken by the Kenyan government to attract investment into its digital economy and to close the digital skills gap. And I especially liked what President Kenyatta said about linking Kenya's SME to global markets. And I just want to say that CCA remains so committed to making sure that the US market is a part of that focus. I was also so pleased to hear from Sundar about the $10 million investment from Google into Kenya's economic recovery, including for SME startups. This is just so critical, and we thank you, Sundar, and your team for this investment in Africa's future and Kenya's future specifically. Now, CCA looks forward to working with the new US Biden administration as it sets its strategic goals for strengthening the US-Africa trade, investment, and business relationship. This is so important. And we will continue to engage and support our member companies and US and African public and private sector partners as we all work to drive economic recovery and develop solutions to promote investment and economic development in Kenya and across Africa, especially with the implementation this year of the AfCFTA, the African Continental Free Trade Area. So on behalf of all of us at CCA, thank you once again. Thank you all for joining us today, and please stay safe.